Well, hello everyone. Welcome. We are all getting ready to start this amazing adventure journey with the Student Connectedness Project. So we are so thrilled and extremely happy that you have accepted this invitation to be part of becoming a learner, a leader, and to be together designing this project, the school connectedness. So what we are envision is that together we'll be exploring how to make sure that students are connected to these four different facets, to those adults in the school, peers, and that there is a reason for there's a purpose in the school in itself. It's a welcoming space. To tell you who we are, right? And I think we already did that, right? What I think the intention of this one slide is to say a little more about why is this? Why are we putting so much interest in like the research and inviting folks to be part of this research community that in being the main connectedness, right? So let me just tell you a little bit of a background. So a year before Johns Hopkins passed away, that's his mid 1800s. He collectively put a community together, community that had some expertise in many areas because he had a vision. And the visionary to co-create a visionary plan for a university, and also attached to that the idea of a hospital that the community, Baltimore at that point needed it so. And so he put a plan together for after his death, he would leave $7 million for that, with that purpose. Mind you, all the year that it took him to put the visionary plan together, he had an engineer, all the folks, like he had even the buildings, the idea where it needed, what the blueprints will be, and all that, with help of others. So anyway, so these 7 meals that back in the 1876 would be now like $11 billion. So it was really one of its kind at the time. So, and again, the purpose was to establish a hospital and affiliated training colleges, an orphanage, and a university. So JHU opened in 1876 with inauguration with our first president, who was Dr. Gilman, Daniel Gilman. When he spoke at this inauguration, he really defined at that point the model of the American Research University. The mission he described remains the university's mission today. And here's what he said: to educate its students and cultivate their capacity for lifelong learning, to foster independent and original research, and to bring the benefits of discovery to the world. This sums up to the mission of Johns Hopkins University, which is knowledge for the world. And so this is where we are about to embark right now, like how this connectedness that we find in it in perhaps many schools, but we haven't really uncovered, or some new things that we're going to be, uncovering ourselves. We can bring it to the rest of the school districts, to the rest of the country, and perhaps the rest of the world. So, we at the School of Education, which happens to be one of the affiliated visions of Johns Hopkins, then it's here, and we are so thrilled that you are taking part of this project. And with that, I think we're gonna explore the why, right, Michelle? Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Maria. Thank you for giving us that background knowledge. So, why are we here today? So, we're actually here to learn directly from you. You heard that we're a research university, but we need your experiences, your perspectives, and your insights because they truly matter. Our team at the Everyone Graduate Center wants to better understand what helps our students stay connected to school and how they stay engaged in their learning. You've heard across the country that attendance is an issue, engagement is an issue, graduation is an issue. And so, really, we need the perspectives of our educators and our students together to truly understand how we can mitigate some of those things. So, what is the Connectedness Project? So, the project is going to focus on the understanding how students experience connection and belonging at school. We have another research project that we're working with adults and teachers and asking the questions, and we all came together and said, but what about the students? How do they feel? Do they feel different? And so, this is how this began. Our research shows that when students do not feel that connection to school, They're obviously more likely to miss school. They struggle to focus on academics and they experience higher levels of stress, right? We also know that the opposite is true, however. When students feel connected and have a sense of belonging, they attend school more regularly, they experience stronger sense of well-being, and they show an increase in learning and academic engagement. So, what does this mean? Greg, we can go to the next slide. Why your voice matters is because you're part of a greater good, and the students will be part of a greater good of understanding, right? Your voice plays an important role in shaping our schools, not just for you, not just for their context and their communities, but for other students as well. And by sharing your experiences, you help us understand what schools are doing well and where there are real opportunities for improvement. So, what you share in these webinars, what you share with us contributes to meaningful change, right? Your feedback is going to help us inform practices and programs and supports that strengthen student connection, that belonging, and that success now and for future students all around the country. You heard Maria say that our stretch goes far and wide. And so we really want to have our students' voice participate in this so that we can learn from them and provide them some self-advocacy along with your support. So, what are you going to do? Let's listen to Jerry.
So, a little bit about what we're going to do. So, this is for our Student Connectedness Project. We're going to do what we really love to do, and that is co-create. Michelle's talking about it, right? Elevating and empowering and continuing to rejoice with the student voices that we have out in the field. And so, we're going to do some co-creation of some strategies to help strengthen connectedness in our schools. And so we're going to explore what connectedness looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. We're going to find out where is it happening? Are there areas that we would like to strengthen connectedness in our communities? And we're going to use that design thinking process to help us co-create and test these new ideas that our students come up with. We're going to have our students collaborating, right? They're going to collaborate with other students in their schools, and perhaps other students who become, if they're able, become a part of these online meetings where they'll be able to collaborate with you as their mentors to solve some real challenges that may exist in each of your schools. And then they're going to do some launching of a design sprint for either their school, their classroom, might be across a grade level, or even out in the community. And as we move forward, we're going to talk about, so we're doing that how with a human-centered approach for design in our co-creation. So we use from the Stanford D School, the design thinking principles, and we really spend a lot of time with our empathy. So we start here. It's what really helps us gain an understanding of our end users. This is where we start asking, the why, and we're gaining deeper understanding. And that empathy is the foundation of human-centered design. And you'll notice that that traditional design thinking process on the left has really been transformed by the National Equity Project. They put a flower together where you see that they have the same terms, but in the center of that, you see the two words notice and reflect. Because when we start to design, we need to think about who we are as the designers and the impact that we have on those that we're designing for. So they ask us to continue to think about our presence in our designing. And then we're going to move to the next slide and learn just a little bit about each of our areas, our four connectedness components. And you'll see on this slide that we can be connected to adults. And connecting to adults is, you see the definition there, caring adults at school that can make a difference in our school experience. So for students, this is someone who cares about me. It could be lots of different adults at school. It does not have to be a teacher. It might be someone in the front office. It could be a coach, but it is a person or persons who really believe in the student that they're connected to. That student feels cared about as a person. They may even share some interests, some hobbies. And the next way for students to be connected is thinking about students being connected to their peers. And this is where students have supported friendships, where they really feel safe, they feel understood, and they feel encouraged by their peers. So it may be affinity groups for students on campus. It may be identity groups, wherever they have a circle of friends. And sometimes they find this circle of friends through sports, they find this through arts. You'll see many schools have developed a plethora of clubs and activities for students to join and be a part of. But that is a play, those are places and spaces for students to be connected with others, to interact with others, spend time together. And then the third way for students to be connected to our schools is to be connected to a purpose. Students have this natural affinity for helping others. Sometimes we call this pro-social activities, where students might be engaged in tutoring, or maybe they're helping out in their community at a food bank, or they're involved in environmental or social justice projects. Michelle mentioned attendance. We found that in some of our project work with our students that they've been helping with attendance. They've been helping with agency and belonging in their schools, but connected to that sense of purpose. And then, Lenora, you mentioned this at the very beginning when we talked about connectedness. You talked about like really that welcoming, inviting place. And so, school, that is where there are clear academic expectations for our students, as well as that environment for students to feel motivated and feel like that they belong. We heard that from Michelle, that those are things that we need in our schools. We need that sense of motivation, that engagement, students attending. So, is school a positive, supportive climate for our students? Are they accepted for who they are? Are they honored for their dignity and value and worth for showing up as their authentic selves, right? That school is a place of belonging for our students. And so when we hear Dr. Balfin's talk about each of these four areas, a lot of times these aren't four separate areas, right? When students are connected to their peers, oftentimes, they might be engaged in some activities where they're connected to a purpose. Or if it feels like a welcoming environment, it could be because students are feeling connected to their peers or they're feeling connected to adults. And so we know that students need all four of these pieces of connection for them to really, for a school to be that place of success for our students. And one of the things that Dr. Bob really talks about is that connectedness is a universal student success strategy. So when our students have all four of these, or our schools have all four areas of connectedness, it's really a place of success for the adults as well as the students in our schools. And then we're going to move forward and hear from Maria about who's going to be participating potentially in this Student Connectedness Project.
So sorry. And for all of the incredible journey to happen, we need students. They are the voice that count, right? So for us, like the students that will be they will be the leaders and creating strategies, coming up with amazing ideas because they always do. They have it. It's such a natural way for them, to see things and then they express their ideas. Says, how about this, Miss Starnes? How about this, Mr. Green, right? It just comes like that, so naturally. And then, and that way, the teachers and counselors and any other staff that have continued to serve and guide and provide the resources, making sure that their voices, the student voices and their own voices, are shaping the changes that will really make a difference. And we can, yeah, and why it matters, right? So, we have learned that from our own experiences, from our own lived experiences. When we have at hand those caring adults, those supporting friends, those folks that really, really mean so much to us, when we're engaged in activities and we're doing those activities in a place that our ideas, our strategies, anything that comes to my mind is welcome. And, then we are, definitely going to do our very best, right? So together, students can help us design schools where those connections will lead for them to be successful, for those adults to be successful as well, and where everyone in those places feel like they belong. And that takes us to the next one. So, and always as a big reminder, right? Our students, their voices have the power to shape those positive change that we're looking for and those changes that will impact everyone.
So let's look at our project timeline. So we're here obviously today to our information session, and we'll have another information session this afternoon. And so this is the opportunity for you to start thinking like who should be part of this team, who do we recruit, how do we recruit, type of thing. And then there's 4 virtual sessions, and we've divided them into the 4 components that you heard from Jerry. So the connected to adults, right? Getting the student's perspective. How are you being connected to an adult? What are some of the things that that adult does to make you feel like you're connected to school and want to be at school? And that session's happening on January 28th. Then we have that connected to peers, how they feel like their sense of belonging with friends or clubs, those type of things. And then that's on February 11th. February 25th is that connected to purpose information session. Like, what does that look like? What are some schools already doing? How do we find areas that we can do this with limited or no resources, right? How do we do some of these things? And we can kind of co-create that together. And then connected to a welcoming place, that'll happen on March 11th. And for each of these virtual sessions, there'll be 2 sessions that you can participate in. So we try to, because we're vast and all over the nation trying to get some sweet spots for some of those times. Then we're going to offer, our team will offer on March 25th, some office hours if you have some ideas or you wanted to get some insight or you need some thought partnership. We're here for you. And may I just say, those of you who are sitting here, you have a long-standing relationship with us. You know that our team is open to support you along the way at any time. And you'll get our contact information to reach out to say, hey, we have this idea or we have this thought, or can you clarify? And we're happy to hop on a Zoom. We're happy to get on the phone, whatever you need from us. Our culinary project will happen on April 29th. Now, some of you have come to our Washington, D.C. showcases. This year, we're doing a virtual showcase, and so we'll have it on April 29th, where the students come together and say, hey, we tried this, and this is how it worked, or we're already doing this, and just kind of present and have an opportunity to share what they've done in their school or in their community with other schools across the nation, including nonprofits and other universities we'll invite, so the kids have that opportunity, and just building that capacity for them to have an opportunity to showcase the work.
Thank you. Thank you. So the best way to predict the future is to create it. And so Bob always talks about, right, the best system is the one that you design and create yourself.